Hi everyone, welcome to Live in Japan. In this show, I'm gonna interview people from different countries who are living in Japan. I'm gonna ask them many questions like what it's like to be living in Japan as a non-Japanese people. Alright, let's get started. Today our guest is a woman from Australia who's been in Japan for 2 years. She is a business coach and entrepreneur. Please welcome Tamara Von Dohren. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before I start asking you questions, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Tamara Von Dohren. I am the CEO and founder of the Lone Wolf Coach, which is an online business and entrepreneur coaching service. And I also work as my day job as a manager at an English Aikawa. I'm also working on a workshop and accelerator program to help people that initially come to Japan to teach English to then go on to start their own business through the Startup Visa program here in Osaka.
Sounds like many jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps me busy for sure.
Why did you come to Japan?
I kind of had the goal to end up in Europe. I love Europe, love traveling through Europe. So I had this huge goal. I was going to live permanently in Europe, and it took about 6 years. And I got very, 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 very close when I lived in London. I had support in my company to stay and be sponsored for a visa, which was the only way I would have been able to stay at the time. But with Brexit and everything happening, didn't quite end up that way. So the backup plan was to come to Japan, continue to grow my international experience across 4 continents, work in a job that I wouldn't necessarily see as a career job, so that I could focus that energy on starting my own online business.
What do you do in Japan? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, of course. The day job that I have, which pays the bills at the moment while I build everything else, is working as a manager at an Aikawa. The projects that I'm working on, so I have my coaching business, which is predominantly online coaching, though I do have a couple of clients in Japan. I help people, either solopreneurs or entrepreneurs or small startup teams, to basically work on impossible goals. So something that they kind of think is difficult to achieve or they've been struggling to achieve, I help them simplify that and then break down some of the barriers that they might have to achieving that.
Are your clients usually non-Japanese people?
Yeah, I've got one startup in Japan that I'm working with. I have another client in South Korea who's from America. Also worked with clients in the US and Germany, the UK. Another client who's a foreigner as well who's based in Japan will be starting next month.
Do you think Japan is a good country to start your business?
I think there's a lot of opportunities in Japan that people may not realize are there. One thing that is definitely not happening in Western countries is a lot of big traditional companies in Japan are actually outsourcing their problem solving to startups because the hierarchy in traditional companies doesn't allow for things to happen quickly. So they're outsourcing it to startups, which is a huge opportunity for people wanting to start a business in Japan.
Even though you're non-Japanese people, if you have some skills, you can start a business.
Yeah, it's not an easy process by any means. There's a lot of bits and pieces to it. But the workshop series that I'm working on, which will eventually be an accelerator program as well, is to help simplify that process and to provide the support through the experts that we're bringing in to help us with that program to make it as smooth as possible. I mean, any country in saying that, it can be difficult to set up and run a business, yeah.
Do you recommend people who come into Japan start a business?
The thing to remember is don't think that if you don't speak Japanese, you can't do anything in the business world here. I think that's a misconception that I even had myself until recently. Because particularly in the startup realm in Japan, there's a lot more people like yourself who speak English, the younger generation that are coming through. And the more people I've got to know in that area, or that industry of Japan, the more people I know now that are Japanese that have also lived overseas or spent time overseas with study or working holiday visas. It's a different kind of Japanese person, I think, that you meet in that area.
Have you had any struggle?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think probably the first 8 months I was in Japan was the most difficult period of my life because I didn't speak Japanese. I was trying to be super respectful of the culture and really fit in. There was a lot of paperwork. I underestimated the amount of paperwork that happens in Japan. And I didn't have my business network either, which for the past 7-8 years, I'd had a really strong business network and networking events to go to. So adjusting to that in the first kind of 8 months was quite difficult. But in the past probably 6 to 8 months, I've started to go to more events. By going to those events, I found other events events that I wasn't able to find by Google search. I met some amazing people, both foreigners and Japanese, that are doing some really interesting things in business in Japan. So being more a part of that, I think, has really helped me for sure, yeah.
What is your future goal?
My goal is to build my company, all my revenue streams in general, to a level that is comfortable. I don't have to think about money. And then to be able to potentially have a base in Japan and potentially in Europe or the US or both. Because I do love to travel, so I do want to be able to move between the 3 different continents, to attend conferences, to work with clients, to speak at events. Basically just do what I love doing, which is helping people solve problems.
Since you've been to many countries, what do you think about Japan?
It's very different. I think even though I had lived and moved to like 3 different countries before Japan, even I underestimated the differences, I think, and the culture shock of moving here. Especially if you don't speak Japanese, it can be tough in the first part, yeah. In Western countries like Australia or the UK or Canada or America, a lot of the processes are online. So you can do a lot of things, like my business, for example, is registered in America. So I was able to do that from here by using all online tools, and I can manage it all from here. In Japan, there is a lot of paperwork. So a lot of the processes are still very manual. So either being really good with Google Translate or having a friend or a consultant that you can work with that is bilingual and can help you with some of that language barrier, I think is the biggest hurdle to overcome.
In the end, do you have any advice to people who are watching this video who want to come to Japan?
I think as soon as you get here, find as many events as possible that you can go to, both business-focused events and social events, because like we met at a social event, so you never know what kind of business contacts you can make there. The second thing would be, don't think that anything is impossible here. It can feel a lot more restrictive when you first get to Japan, but I'm proof that you don't have to speak Japanese to be doing great things in business, to be creating programs, to be helping people in the business arena here. So don't think that what you want to do is impossible just because of what perceived limitations, I suppose.
Do you have anything you want to promote for your company?
If you are coming to Japan, if you want some good advice on some nightlife spots, please give me a message. You can find me on Instagram, Tamara Lone Wolf, Lone Wolf. If you are looking for coaching advice, or if you're looking to start a business and you'd like some help with that as well, thelonewolfcoach.com is the place to go.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
It was nice talking to you.
You too, thank you.